The crystal felt warm in Kara Mitchell's palm, heavier than it should be for something so small. She'd accepted it because refusing seemed rude, and diplomacy meant swallowing pride and caution in equal measure. The Zephyrian Commander Vex'thor watched her with those unsettling triple iris eyes, his silver skin catching the ambient light of the flagship's council chamber. Around them, the 12 members of the Zephyrian High Council stood in perfect silence. Then Vex'thor's face went rigid. The color drained from his already pale features. "No," he whispered, the translator rendering his horror in perfect English. "No, I did not mean—" The eldest council member, a female named Sorith, raised both her four-fingered hands. Burdened, her voice boomed across the chamber. "The bond is sealed. Witness the joining of Commander Vex'thor and the human Kara Mitchell. They are lifebound. They will bring forth offspring." Kara's stomach dropped. "Excuse me, what?" Chaos erupted. Half the council began chanting in their native tongue while the other half shouted over each other. Vex'thor stepped toward her, hands raised in what she desperately hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Basis, human Kara, I did not know you would accept the Sherith crystal. It is a bonding stone. Only those who intend to mate exchange them. You handed it to me during a trade negotiation." Kara's voice came out higher than she intended. She tried to drop the crystal, but her fingers wouldn't open. The warmth had spread up her arm, pleasant and terrifying at once. "I meant it as a gift of goodwill, a symbol of..." Vex'thor's words died as Sorith placed a hand on his shoulder. "The intention does not matter, Commander." She accepted. The bond recognizes truth beneath surface thought. You desired her. She desired you. The sheriff does not lie. Kara felt her face burning. Sure, Vex'thor was objectively attractive in an alien sort of way. Tall, elegant, with that commanding presence that made her forget he wasn't human. But desire, that was a strong word for mild attraction and professional respect. "This is insane," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "I'm a human, you're Zephyrian. We can't have offspring. Biology doesn't work that way." Sorith's expression shifted to something Kara couldn't read. Pity, maybe, or ancient sorrow. What child you understand so little? The Sheriff does not ask biology for permission. It commands. In 7 cycles, your body will quicken with new life. In 300 cycles, you will bear the first human-Zephyrian child this galaxy has ever known. The room tilted. Kara locked her knees to keep from swaying. "That's impossible!" "Impossible is a word the universe does not recognize," Sorith replied. Then she turned to the assembled council. "Send word to all Zephyrian territories. The human queen has joined with our commander. Hope returns to our dying race." Kara wanted to argue, to demand they reverse whatever they'd done. But the warmth from the crystal had reached her chest. Now, it settled around her heart like a second pulse, steady and undeniable. When she met Vex'thor's gaze, she saw the same thing there that she felt. Terror, wonder, and the creeping suspicion that their lives had just changed forever. The next 72 hours blurred into a nightmare of medical examinations, political briefings, and increasingly frantic calls to Earth's diplomatic corps. Kara sat in what the Zephyrians called the Queen's Suite, an enormous chamber with walls that shifted colors based on her emotional state, and tried to process the impossible. Dr. Lena Hayes, Earth's chief xenobiologist, appeared on the holographic display, her dark face drawn with exhaustion. "I've reviewed the scans they sent us, Kara. I don't know how to tell you this, but something is happening to your DNA. Define something. The Sherith crystal isn't just ceremonial. It's a quantum-level genetic modifier. It's rewriting portions of your genome to be compatible with Zephyrian genetics. Not replacing, but bridging. Creating entirely new chromosomal structures that shouldn't be able to exist." Lena paused. "And according to their medical staff, it's working." Kara's hands trembled. She pressed them flat against her thighs. "Can you stop it? I don't think anything can stop it. Kara, this technology is centuries beyond our understanding. Maybe millennia. And there's more." Lena's voice dropped. "The Zephyrians are dying. Their entire species. They've been sterile for the last 8 generations due to something they call the Silence, a genetic plague unleashed during their ancient wars. They've tried everything. Cloning, artificial wombs, genetic therapy. Nothing works. Their population has dropped from billions to less than 2 million across all their worlds. And they think I'm their salvation? Kara laughed, but it came out broken. One human woman? Not just you. If this works, if you actually conceive and carry a viable hybrid child, you'll prove that human genetics can bypass the silence. They're not looking for a queen, Kara. They're looking for proof that their species doesn't have to end. The call ended. Kara sat in the color-shifting silence and felt the weight of 2 civilizations pressing down on her shoulders. She hadn't asked for this, hadn't wanted it. But somewhere in the logical, strategic part of her mind that had made her a successful diplomat, a thought began to form. Leverage. The door chimed. Vex'thor entered, moving with that liquid grace his species possessed. He'd shed the formal council armor for simpler clothing, which somehow made him seem more vulnerable. I owe you an apology, he said without preamble. I should have explained the significance of the sheriff before offering it. I was careless, desperate perhaps to make a connection with your people. And he stopped, his usually steady voice fracturing. I have bound you to a fate you did not choose. By my people's law I cannot release you, but I swear I will find a way. Kara studied him. Really looked at him for the first time since this madness began. She saw the exhaustion in the set of his shoulders, the grief carved into the elegant lines of his face. This wasn't just duty for him. This was personal. How many children did you lose? She asked quietly. His head snapped up. What? The silence. It's been 8 generations. That means you knew people who had children before the sterilization became complete. How many did you lose? Vex'thor's throat worked. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. My sister. She was among the last to conceive naturally. The child lived for 3 days before its organs failed. We have watched 247 hybrid attempts since then. All failures. All grief. He met her eyes. I do not tell you this to manipulate you, human Kara. I tell you so you understand the weight of what the sheriff has done. You carry not just my hope, but the hope of everyone I have ever known. The crystal pulsed warm against her chest. She tried to remove it, but it had fused to her skin over her heart, a silver mark that wouldn't fade. In that pulse she felt something that couldn't be there, shouldn't be there. His heartbeat, distant but present, syncing slowly with her own. If I do this, she said, and watched his eyes widen with desperate hope. It won't be just for the Zephyrians. Earth needs your medical technology, your quantum drives, your genetic expertise. If I'm going to be your proof of concept, then I'm also going to be your negotiator. Vex'thor blinked. Then, impossibly, he smiled. You would turn catastrophe into alliance? That's what humans do best, Commander. We adapt. And apparently, she touched the silver mark over her heart. We evolve. The vision started on the 5th day. Kara would be reviewing trade agreements when suddenly she'd see through different eyes. 3 irised eyes that processed color and spectrums she didn't have words for. She'd feel the weight of Vex'thor's memories, his childhood on a Zephyrian colony world, the day he learned of the silence, the slow horror of watching his people fade. And he saw hers. Earth's blue oceans. Her mother's laugh. The day she decided to join the diplomatic corps because she wanted to prove that different species could find common ground. The bond deepens, Soreth explained during one of their daily meetings. The elder had taken a surprising interest in Kara's transition, acting as both advisor and guard. The Sharef does not simply join bodies. It joins minds, spirits, destinies. You are becoming one being in 2 forms. That's horrifying, Kara said flatly. That is love, Soreth corrected. Or the seed of it. Whether it grows into something beautiful or twisted depends on you both. But not everyone saw beauty in the bonding. Kara first noticed the hostile stares in the flagship's corridors, the way certain crew members would turn away when she passed. Then came the anonymous messages on her personal terminal, written in broken English. Abomination. Polluter. The silence is mercy. You bring back suffering. Vex'thor increased her security detail. Kara hated it. Hated feeling like a prisoner in gilded rooms, but she couldn't ignore the cold knot of fear growing in her stomach. Someone aboard the flagship wanted her dead. The attempt came during the bonding ceremony, a public ritual meant to formally present Kara to Zephyrian society. Thousands watched via holographic broadcast as she stood beside Vex'thor in the Great Hall, wearing ceremonial robes that felt like wearing starlight. Sorayeth raised her hands to bless the union. Let all witness the bridge between. The energy blast came from the upper gallery, a lance of white-hot plasma aimed directly at Kara's chest. She had no time to move, no time to scream. Vex'thor was faster. He threw himself in front of her, his body taking the blast meant for her heart. The force of it threw them both backward. Kara hit the ground hard, Vex'thor's weight pinning her down. His blood, silver, luminescent, spread across his chest in a growing stain. No. Kara heard herself saying, "No, no, no." Guards swarmed the gallery. Screams echoed through the hall. But Kara only had eyes for Vex'thor, whose breathing came in short, desperate gasps. The bond between them flared with agony, his pain flooding through her like fire. "The child," he whispered, blood on his lips. "Protect. There is no child yet, you idiot," Kara said, her voice breaking. "You don't get to die. Not like this. Not for me." Soreth appeared above them, her face grim. "The medical bay. Now. He has minutes at most." They carried him through corridors that blurred with Kara's tears. In the medical bay, Zephyrian doctors swarmed around Vex'thor's body while Kara stood uselessly to the side, the bond screaming with his fading heartbeat. "We cannot save him," the head physician said finally, her voice flat with defeat. "The blast destroyed too many critical organs. He is beyond our capabilities." "Then expand your capabilities," Kara snarled. She turned to Soreth. "You said the Shareth bridges species, that it creates new possibilities. Use it. Use me." "The process is untested," Soreth began. "Everything about this situation is untested. Your people are dying because you won't take risks. Well, I'm human, and we've built our entire civilization on taking impossible risks." Kara grabbed Soreth's arm. "Tell me how to save him." Soreth's expression shifted to something like respect. "The biosynthesis chamber. It can link your genetic structures, use your human regenerative capacity to repair Zephyrian organs, but it will complete the bond permanently. There will be no reversal. And the energy required," she paused, "it will accelerate the conception. If you do this, you will be pregnant within hours, not weeks." Kara didn't hesitate. "Do it!" They placed her in a chamber beside Vex'thor's, both of them suspended in translucent gel that hummed with quantum energy. Kara felt the moment the synthesis began, the rush of foreign genetic code flooding through her cells. Her body fought it for a moment, human biology screaming against the impossible. Then something clicked, like a lock finding its key. The sheriff mark over her heart flared with brilliant light, and suddenly she could feel Vex'thor completely. Not just his pain, but his essence, his determination, his fierce protective love for his people, and underneath it all a growing affection for her that he'd been too honorable to voice. The bond snapped into place with the force of a nuclear reaction. Kara's body convulsed. She felt her organs shifting, her cells restructuring, her very DNA rewriting itself in real time. It should have been agony. Instead, it felt like coming home, like finding a piece of herself she'd never known was missing. When they pulled her from the chamber hours later, Vex'thor was breathing. His chest wound had closed, leaving only a silver scar that matched the mark over her heart. And Kara felt it. The new life beginning inside her. Impossible, undeniable, real. The physician confirmed it with scans. "Congratulations, Queen Kara. You carry the first viable hybrid offspring in Zephyrian history." Kara should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something else entirely. Purpose. And a fierce, protective determination that surprised her with its intensity. Vex'thor woke 2 days later. His first word was her name. The news spread across both human and Zephyrian space like wildfire. Reactions ranged from celebration to horror, hope to outrage. Earth's government was cautiously optimistic. Kara had successfully negotiated a technology-sharing agreement that would advance human medicine by centuries, but not everyone was pleased. The Purity Movement, a Zephyrian extremist faction, declared the hybrid child an abomination that would dilute their species into extinction. They'd been behind the assassination attempt, and according to intelligence reports, they were far from finished. Kara stood in the flagship's command center, now officially recognized as Queen Consort, and studied the tactical display. 20 Purity Movement warships had broken away from the outer territories and were headed toward their position. "They're going to try to destroy the flagship," Vex'thor said from beside her. Eid recovered fully, though he moved with new caution, as if afraid he might break the fragile miracle they'd created. "They cannot allow the child to be born. Then we don't give them a choice." Kara turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel. Broadcast to both the approaching fleet and Earth's nearest military outpost." "Kara, what are you doing?" Vex'thor asked. "Something very human," she replied. When the channel opened, she spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the void to millions of listeners. "This is Queen Kara Mitchell, addressing both the Zephyrian Purity Movement and all of humanity. I know you're afraid. I know this child represents change, and change is terrifying. But let me tell you what else it represents." She placed a hand over her stomach, where the hybrid life was growing. "It represents hope, survival. The proof that when two species stop seeing differences as threats and start seeing them as opportunities, miracles can happen. The Zephyrians are dying. We can save them, and in return, they can save us from the diseases and limitations that have plagued humanity since the beginning. This child," her voice caught, surprising her with sudden emotion, "this child is not an abomination. It's a bridge. The first of many, if you let it be." She paused, then added, "To the Purity Movement fleet, I am not your enemy, but I will defend this child with everything I have. Turn back and we can find another way forward. Continue your attack, and you'll discover what humans are capable of when you threaten what we love." The channel closed. Vex'thor stared at her. "You just declared war." "No," Kara corrected. "I declared intent. There's a difference." She turned to the tactical officer. "What's our defensive capability?" The next 4 days were a blur of preparation. Earth sent 3 destroyers to reinforce their position, their human crews eager to defend the diplomatic miracle Kara represented. Zephyrian loyalist fleets moved to intercept the Purity Movement, but calculations showed they wouldn't arrive in time. Kara threw herself into defense planning, working with both human and Zephyrian tactical officers to prepare for the inevitable assault. She discovered she had an instinct for strategy, a way of seeing patterns and possibilities that surprised everyone, including herself. "It's the bond," Vex'thor explained one night as they reviewed attack vectors. "You're accessing my military training through our connection, and I'm learning your human creativity and adaptability. We're stronger together than we ever were apart." "That's very poetic," Kara said dryly. "Let's hope it's enough to keep us alive." But privately, she felt it too. The way their minds had begun to work in concert, finishing each other's thoughts, anticipating needs before they were spoken. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt right. The Purity Movement fleet arrived exactly when predicted. 20 warships against the flagship and its small defensive force. The odds were not favorable. "All ships, defensive positions!" Vex'thor ordered from the command chair. Kara stood beside him, refusing to retreat to the shielded core despite his protests. "Prepare to engage." The battle began with brutal efficiency. Energy weapons lit up the void as shields flared and died. The flagship shuddered under repeated impacts. Kara watched the tactical display and saw patterns emerging, attack vectors, weak points, moments of opportunity. "There," she said, pointing to a cluster of enemy ships. "Their formation is too tight. If we concentrate fire on that heavy cruiser, the explosion will damage the others." Vex'thor gave the order. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, taking 2 destroyers with it. The Purity Movement fleet broke formation, confusion rippling through their ranks. But there were still too many. The flagship's shields were failing. Escape was impossible. Then Kara felt it, a sharp, sudden pain in her abdomen. She gasped, doubling over. "Kara!" Vex'thor was at her side instantly. What's wrong? The baby, she managed through gritted teeth. Something's happening. The medical officer rushed forward with a scanner. Her eyes widened. Queen Kara, you're going into labor right now. That's impossible, Kara said. It's only been 2 weeks. Hybrid gestation follows different rules, the officer said urgently. The stress of combat, the bond synchronization, it's triggered accelerated development. The child is coming now. Kara looked at Vex'thor, then at the tactical display showing the relentless enemy advance. Time seemed to slow as understanding crystallized in her mind. Broadcast it, she said. What? Vex'thor looked at her like she'd lost her mind. The birth. Broadcast it to every ship out there, friend and enemy alike. Let them watch. Kara straightened despite the pain. They need to see. They need to know this is real. Kara, that's human. I know. She managed a pained smile. Trust me, please. Vex'thor's jaw clenched. Then he turned to the communications officer. Open all channels, visual and audio. Broadcast to all vessels in range and relay to both our homeworlds. They carried Kara to the medical bay, but she insisted the cameras follow. Millions, billions would watch. She needed them to. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about proving that impossible things could become real if you had the courage to try. The pain intensified. Zephyrian medical technology helped. Quantum fields managing the worst of it. But Kara felt every moment of what was happening. Her body was doing something no human body had ever done, something that violated every biological rule. And it was working. I can see the head, the physician said, wonder in her voice. The child it's perfect. The genetic integration is flawless. Kara gripped Vex'thor's hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers. He didn't complain. Just held on, his face tight with helpless concern. Through the bond, she felt his absolute faith in her, his awe at what she was accomplishing. Outside, the battle had stopped. The tactical display showed all ships holding position, weapons powered down. Everyone was watching, waiting. With a final surge of effort that pulled a scream from her throat, Kara brought new life into the universe. The child's cry rang through the medical bay. Strong, healthy, undeniable. The physician held her up for Kara to see. A perfect hybrid, with silver-tinted skin and Kara's dark human eyes, tiny fingers that were somewhere between human and Zephyrian morphology. She's beautiful, Kara whispered, and started to cry. Vex'thor's hand trembled in hers. Through the bond, she felt his emotions crashing over him like a tidal wave. Joy, relief, wonder, and a fierce protective love that matched her own. The physician scanned the baby with shaking hands. All vitals are strong. Organs are functioning perfectly. This child will live, her voice broke. After 247 failures, this child will live. The broadcast carried those words across the fleet, across both civilizations. In the command center on distant planets aboard the Purity Movement ships, beings of two species heard the same impossible truth. Life had found a way. One by one, the Purity Movement warships began powering down their weapons. Then, slowly, they turned away, their formation dissolving as ships broke off and headed back toward their territories. The war was over before it truly began. Kara held her daughter against her chest, feeling the baby's double heartbeat. One rhythm human, one Zephyrian, both perfectly synchronized. Due the bond, she felt Vex'thor's presence wrapped around them both like a shield. What will we name her? He asked softly. Kara thought about bridges and hope, about impossible things becoming real. Nova, she said, because she's the beginning of something that's never existed before. In the days that followed, everything changed. The birth of Nova Mitchell Vex'thor became the most watched event in galactic history. Human volunteers began arriving at Zephyrian medical centers, willing to try the bonding process. Not all of them worked. Genetic compatibility was complex and mysterious, but enough did. Within months, a dozen more hybrid pregnancies were confirmed. The silence hadn't been broken, but it had been bypassed. The Zephyrians would survive, but transformed. and humanity gained access to medical technology that would save countless lives across both species. Kara stood in the observation deck of the flagship, Nova sleeping peacefully in her arms, and watched Earth rotate slowly in the view screen. Vex'thor came up beside her, his presence warm and familiar through the bond that now felt as natural as breathing. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. "The choice that was taken from you?" Kara considered the question honestly. She'd lost her old life, her freedom to walk away, the simple certainty of being purely human. But she'd gained something too, a partnership that transcended species, a daughter who represented hope for billions, a purpose that mattered. "No," she said finally, "I don't regret it. But I'm still angry that I didn't get to choose it freely." "That is fair," Vex'thor said. "I am sorry for that. I will be sorry for that for the rest of my life." "Good," Kara replied, but she was smiling. "You should be." She shifted Nova to her other arm. "So what happens now? Do I just stay here forever, being a symbol?" "You are not just a symbol," Vex'thor said firmly. "You are a queen, a diplomat, a warrior who defended her child against an armada. You are whatever you choose to be." "Then I choose to be all of it," Kara decided. "Symbol, queen, mother, bridge builder. And I choose to make sure that no other human or Zephyrian ends up bonded without understanding what they're agreeing to first. We're going to rewrite the protocols, establish real consent, create actual choices." Vex'thor's expression shifted to something like pride. "You would restructure centuries of tradition?" "Absolutely," Kara said. "That's what humans do. We take ancient systems and make them better, usually by force if necessary." She looked down at Nova, whose tiny hand had curled around her finger. "She deserves to grow up in a universe where bonding is a choice, not an accident, where hybrid children aren't miracles but simply children." "It will take generations," Vex'thor warned. "Then we'd better get started." They stood together in comfortable silence, two beings who'd been thrown together by accident and had chosen to make something beautiful from catastrophe. Through the viewport, Earth gleamed like a blue jewel, and beyond it, the Zephyrian homeworld shone silver in the distance. Two worlds, two species, one impossible child who proved that the future belonged to those brave enough to build bridges instead of walls. Nova stirred in Kara's arms and opened her eyes, one dark brown, one silver-iced, both perfectly clear. She looked up at her parents with ancient wisdom in that newborn gaze, as if she already understood the weight she carried. The weight of hope, of survival, of love that crossed the void between stars. Kara smiled down at her daughter and felt the future unfolding in her arms. Not the future she'd planned, but the one she'd earned, the one she'd fought for. The one she'd built one impossible choice at a time. "Welcome to the universe, Nova," she whispered. "You're going to change everything." And in the bond she shared with Vex'thor, in the merged heartbeat that connected all three of them, Kara felt the truth of those words resonating through her very DNA. The galaxy had just been introduced to humanity's greatest strength. The stubborn, relentless, beautiful ability to turn shock into hope, disaster into alliance, and the impossible into inevitable. They were having offspring. Against all odds, despite all logic, breaking every biological rule. And that was just the beginning.